final score, Wrexham 2, Stevenage 3, real disappointment. Obviously, our great home run comes to an end. A match which, well, was defined by, from our perspective, a very poor first half that was way below our normal standards, and by Stevenage's view, an outstanding first half. In fact, they continued to play well in the second. And although we came back gamely in the second half and it was a different sort of match, I don't think anybody could argue that Stevenage deserved the 3 points. We were unchanged, I think understandably, from the side that played so well against Birmingham, but from the very start you could see that Stevenage had worked things out. I mean, famously before the match, of course, they had the best away defence in the division, only conceded 8 goals on the road, remarkably. Even more remarkably, they only scored 4. This obviously would change dramatically. But they were coming off excellent 1-0 win at Barnsley and 6 consecutive away clean sheets. And they clearly knew what they were doing when they didn't have the ball. But they weren't sitting deep and defending. The first thing and the key thing they really got right was they were willing to commit their 4 attacking players into our half to stop us playing out from the back. It worked extremely well, so that when they didn't have the ball, their setup was excellent. They had Dan Kemp, who was the outstanding player on the pitch. Also, when he didn't have the ball, just making sure that Matty James was picked up. The 3 attacking players ahead of him pushed up onto the 3 centre-backs. Our wing-backs go up high on the pitch, of course. And so we were struggling to pass our way out into midfield. And with Elliot Lee playing off Ollie Palmer, that meant that if we were put under pressure and went long to Palmer, Lee naturally was trying to drop in to make an extra man in midfield to help us to pass our way through. And we weren't winning it. Even when Palmer created loose balls in his duels with the centre-backs, Lee was not able to get close enough. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Elliot Lee playing off a striker system. But if you're being penned in like that and you're not able to pass your way out, it then malfunctions naturally. And the first half was all Stevenage. In fact, as you'll hear now when I go through the main incidents, I didn't record anything that Wrexham did in attack. I didn't think anything was really worthy of mentioning. First chance was a big miss in the 11th minute. Smith on the right-hand side, putting a set piece into the box. One centre-back, Pierre Gianni, flicked it on at the near post. And Sweeney, the other centre-back, controlled it about 10 yards out, brought it down nicely in front of him. The goal gaping in front of him, but he leaned back and launched it over the bar. It was an early warning, but there was nothing we could do. 2 minutes later, they had cut through us and scored. 2 things as Stevenage I thought were doing very well when they were coming forwards. One was the rotation of that front 4. They were dropping narrow, switching positions. And we genuinely had problems working out what to do, how to counteract it. Players sticking with their man would then find gaps behind them as they were dragged about. It was a real issue for us. The other thing they did very well, which we saw in this move, was players in midfield positions, Phillips, Kemp, King, willing to drive forwards with the ball, drive through the lines and take Wrexham players out of play simply by going past them, which just created even more of an imbalance when you already had players who weren't comfortably picking up the right man. This one started off with Pierre Gianni doing a good job on the edge of his area, stepping in, winning the ball, and then immediately carrying it forwards and playing a good pass to Kemp. Kemp, the player who makes the run, who carries on, helps it wide to Roberts. It's a really well-timed pass. He just rolls it perfectly into Roberts in the right channel in the box. Roberts' shot isn't the best, but Okonkwo doesn't hold on to it. It sort of squirms out from his midriff, and Kemp has carried on his run and drives it easily into the net. A pretty simple finish. So Wrexham, a goal down to a very frustrating goal has come right through the middle of our entire team, and which no doubt Okonkwo will have been frustrated with, and he will have been more frustrated perhaps or equally with the second one as well, which happens when Jamie Reid flicked the ball on very cutely on the left flank from a long ball. Apere pulled the ball back into his path and Reid took it early from just outside the box. I mean, it's a hell of a good hit. It's a beautiful, clean hit. It does swerve quite a lot, and it dips as well. But nonetheless, I think Okonkwo will be disappointed that it's quite close to his body, but it goes under his hands. The movement on the ball is what does for him, and that can make goalkeepers sometimes not look great. But obviously, a goalkeeper of Concour's calibre will be frustrated that he wasn't able to save it. It could have been 3-0 halfway through the half, although it would have been very controversial. Ryan Barnett going for a header in midfield was clearly fouled by Phillips. Barnett in the end, Phillips just ran into him and sent him flying. Astonishingly, nothing was given. And again, Stevenage were on the edge of our area with players over there. Smith had 2 shots from his central area, both of which were blocked. And then when the ball was whipped back in, McLean could only head it out to Roberts on the right-hand side. He put it back in, and it was headed off target by Appere. I did see the accents on his name, and he probably should have done better. But they continued to push on. Just after half hour, King it was driving forward from centre of midfield, a good run. In the end, his shot is blocked on the edge of the box. He goes to get the rebound. Rathbone does really well to lunge in and tackle him, but we're too deep because they're coming at us. So the second balls are all falling for Stevenage, and so they pick it up. Reed does well to run forwards. He finds Kemp. Kemp pulls it back inside. Scar manages to get a block on it when Reed drives the ball in, and it falls to Kemp, who drives it over the bar from the edge of the box. Another decent chance. 2-0 at half-time, and booed off at half-time, which is surprising, but you could understand the fans' frustration, and I tend to not be like it when fans boo, personally, but on this occasion, I think they were in such shock. I can understand it. Phil Parkinson had to make changes, and he did. So off came Matty James and Ollie Palmer. On came Paul Mullin and Stephen Fletcher. Immediately, Mullin is running back into his own half and fighting for the ball and showing that the team's going to dig in a bit better. Dobson's dropped into the holding position in midfield and looks comfortable, and he and Rathbone start making big tackles as well. And the crowd are encouraged by this, and as well, to be fair, the crowd booed at half-time, but once the second half started, the crowd were grabbing hold of crumbs of encouragement and making noise to try to push Wrexham on, and we started to make opportunities. Firstly, it was Lee doing well with a quick free kick on the left, feeding it inside. Tom O'Connor carried the ball forwards and played a good through ball down the left channel. Fletcher, one-on-one with the keeper from a tight angle, did everything right. Really nice left-footed chip. But Cooper, the keeper, on loan from QPR, that's a difficult sentence, he has made a hell of a reputation for himself, and he made a very good save. He got out very quickly, stood up and got the block on it. However, we got a goal back from the resulting corner. Ball swept in and is headed away from inside the goal mouth. Rathbone has a shot, which he sort of scuffs into the ground. It's going wide. Mullin is alert and manages to make contact in the 6-yard box, something with his chest as much as anything else, and divert it into the goal. Good to see Mullin scoring. No time for him to dwell on the fact he'd got a precious goal, though, because we needed to try and get the ball back and restart. I see Rathbone's being credited, I think, by PA, who tend to spread all the stats around with the goal. Well, no offence to Rathbone, who I like a lot, but I hope it is given to Mullin, because it is definitely Mullin's goal, and Mullin needs the goals just to get his confidence going. Stevenage, by the way, were not happy. They were complaining about it, and I couldn't see why at the time, but looking back at it, when Rathbone shoots, Scar is standing between him and goal and raises his arm up to sort of shoulder level, and it looks like the ball may well deflect off his arm, and for me that would be in a natural position in handball. So if it did hit his arm, and it's hard to tell for certain, Stephen has a point. Anyway, we continue to pressure. We're a bit more direct, but we're a lot quicker in the way we're moving the ball around, but we're still struggling to make chances. And Stevenage, well, they continue to be brave. They continue to come with players into our half in order to try and disrupt us. It doesn't work as well, but they get a reward for that when they score another goal, which from Wrexham's perspective is disappointing, how easily they get the ball through the thirds. But from Stevenage's perspective, again, it's great interplay between their attacking players. By now, Jake Young has come on to play on the left side of the attack, and he'll be the player who scores. Again, King driving down the right channel, managing to ride 2 tackles, feeds it on to Kemp. Lovely little turn inside by Kemp, and he squares it on, and Young drills the ball home. Nice move. Kemp and Young, by the way, each scored 2 goals at the racecourse last season while on loan at Swindon in that crazy 5-all draw. Kemp had a couple of assists as well, and now here they are both chipping in again as our defence doesn't enjoy playing up against them. Phil Barkston immediately reacted. Off comes Scar and Barnett. On comes Longman for his debut and Marriott. So now it's Marriott and Fletcher up front. A diamond midfield, Mullin in behind them. Longman on the right and a back four with O'Connor and Cleworth in the middle. And yeah, Longman as a right back, but didn't really come back to defend. Rathbone was dropping off a little bit and trying to cover. But basically, yeah, Longman was playing as a right winger. And we were really taking chances. And we did make chances too. Rathbone driving down the right-hand side with a quarter of an hour left. Swings the ball in. It's Mullin just can't quite reach it. It was a tempting cross. McLean keeps it alive and chips it invitingly back into the goalmouth. Fletcher, well, it looks like a goal. Typical Fletcher, times his run beautifully, meets it between 2 centre-backs, but looks to head it downwards and for once doesn't get the right contact and heads it straight downwards, and the keeper is able to come out and grab it before Fletcher can try and improvise something. 5 minutes left, another opportunity. O'Connor with a good diagonal out to the right. Longman nodding the ball down cleverly, and Marriott, who was very lively up front, was really pinning the centre-backs and causing problems. Did well from 15 yards out. He span and drove in a spiteful shot, but Cooper got down well to save it. We do pull a goal back, though, in the 90th minute. It led from a free kick, which, I've got to say, Phillips, who threw himself around a lot and got quite a lot of generous treatment from the referee, he gets a yellow for it. Entertainingly, Cooper also gets a yellow immediately because he then grabs the loose ball and launches it out of the stadium. The referee spots it and delivers 2 quick yellows. But Phillips, I mean, looking at it again, was it more than a yellow? He jives in, he's nowhere near the ball and takes Rathbone out. And you can see immediately he and Piagenni, his captain, are going across the ref to say, well, calm down. When the yellow comes out, they look quite, fair enough, accepting of it. And also, luckily for them, because I think Wrexham were obsessed with trying to get a goal back, Wrexham didn't make a fuss, Rathbone didn't make a drama out of it. Phillips touched lucky there, perhaps. But anyway, they were punished from the set piece. Beautiful delivery. Lee just putting a teasing ball into the far post. Cleworth jumping well. Simple header from 6 yards out. Another goal for Max. And it's 3-2, and immediately 7 minutes, the bare minimum I think they could have added on, are shown, and the crowd are really encouraged that we might get an unlikely point out of this. We do have our moments in added time as well. Mullin sweeping the ball into the edge of the area, Marriott laying it off nicely, and Lee driving in one-on-one with the keeper. This is the moment. Cooper again absolutely distinguishes himself. Lee, with a defender leaning on him, does well to get powerful contact on his shot, but Cooper, just like with Fletcher, has come out really quickly, spread himself. He actually saves it with his face, smashed into his face powerfully by Lee from close range, and it ricochets behind for a corner, and the opportunity is gone. Then it's Rutherford doing well, diving header away from the opposing goal just to keep possession, lunging into midfield to head it back to Dobson, who plays an excellent ball down the right. Longman drives in, good delivery to the near post. Marriott looks to flick it in from 6 yards out, and he's unlucky. It goes just wider than the near post. He thought it was a corner. Looking at the replay again, can't see for sure, but I think he may have had a point. I think he may have flicked it on target and the defender deflected it behind, but the goal kick was given, and I can understand that from a hard to spot from the referee's perspective. 5th minute of added time, Wrexham go up massively for a penalty. For handball, Longman on the right-hand side, driving it in, Freestone, it hits him. I think, again, having looked at it again, I think it does it, his hand in the box, his arm rather, but his arm is tucked in. That's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. You can understand why the Wrexham players and fans really go up for it, but it's not a penalty. And then one final moment right at the end of the game, 97 minutes on the clock. Lee doing well to fight for a long ball in the air, creates a loose ball. Mullin gets it, runs to the edge of the area, gets it onto his right foot, tries to curl it into the top right corner and just misses the target. I've seen some people criticising Mullin for this. I can't get my head around that at all. I don't care if the goals aren't coming for him. If he's in that position, I want him to shoot. He's the guy who can do it. I admit McLean's unmarked on the left side of the box, but we've been getting into crossing positions throughout the game and not capitalising from them. Mullin has the right to go for that, and he's not that far off either. And the final whistle goes moments later. Frustration for Wrexham. We have lost for the first time at home since we, of course, lost to Tranmere in February last year. Looking at the performances, Okonkwo will be disappointed, of course. I mean, the first 2 goals he'll look back on and ask whether he could keep them out. The centre-backs, our defence had a hell of a job in the first half. Cleworth, the pick of the 3, I would say, was fairly steady, as usual. In the second half was bringing it forwards well. O'Connor played some good balls forwards in the second half, but yeah, we were tested a lot defensively in the first half, and that movement was pulling that unit around quite a lot. Scar won quite a few strong headers and tackles, but nonetheless, sometimes he was left in a tricky position of the strikers all rotating, and he's left marking nobody and has to decide, do I step up? And when he stepped up to try and pick somebody up, that tended to be the trigger for Stevenage to immediately send a deep runner into that gap he just left and play the ball in there. So he was, forced into making some difficult decisions that Stevenage were looking for. The wing-backs, Barnett got into some good positions, put a couple of good balls in, put a couple of frustrating crosses into the crowd as well, though. And so he was given a break for Longman to come on. Longman, a couple of poor passes, in all honesty, but when you look back at it, did deliver a few telling balls into the penalty area. It's interesting to see his approach and interesting to see how he develops. He's usually played on the left and cut it onto a stronger right foot anyway, so we'll need to see as well whether that's where we use him. On the other side, McLean wasn't really able to have as much influence as he'd like onto the game, in all honesty. He found himself in that awkward between two stools position where he knew sometimes he needed to go back and defend, but that would restrict his ability to get forward and hurt the opposition. Matty James, I love Matty James, but they've had a man on him all the time, and he again was often given a choice of 2 players to pick up, and Stevenage would use that. They had a man over in the middle of midfield often, and so it was understandable he brought him off at half time. It wasn't his sort of game, I think, really. It was bypassing him a little bit. Credit to Dobson, who showed a lot of fight in the first half and then back in that central position, looked very good and again was really fiery. Likewise, Rathbone, who battled in the first half without really getting into the game like he normally does, and in the second half was the usual Rathbone tearing around the pitch and fighting for everything. Up front, I mean, I thought Lee did okay, but as I mentioned earlier, the way the game progressed didn't help him to play off Palmer. When he dropped back into midfield in the second half, he was lively and involved and put a lovely assist in for the second goal. Palmer, I thought, battled okay with the centre-backs, but we had to change things around at half-time, just had to. But he was a bit unlucky because it was difficult for Lee to get close enough, like I said, to benefit from his work. As for the subs, Fletcher had some good moments, didn't maybe quite have the impact he often does when he comes off the bench. Shame that header was mistimed, because that was his chance, really. Well, and the 1-on-1, but that was a good save by the keeper. Mullin, I thought, worked ever so hard and set an example from the beginning, getting involved and working for everything, and got a goal, thank goodness. Let's hope they actually credit him to him. And Marriott, like I said, I thought was lively in and around the box. The 2 little cameos he's had off the bench since coming back from injury, very encouraging to me. He looks like he's sharp and wants to get on the end of chances straight away. He's come back running. So, we go again on Saturday, and with results, well, Birmingham won. That's good, I think, because Huddersfield behind us lost. Wickham win in the 95th minute. That's frustrating, but yeah, just need to start getting back to winning points and accumulating points again after a real disappointment. With a final score of Wrexham 2, Stevenage 3, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.